and other beings on the other side. So I provide spirit medium readings, which that would be for connecting with your loved ones in spirit to receive their messages for you. And then I also connect with the archangels for angel readings, and that is strictly for guidance about your life. I'm also an author. I have a book called How Have You Loved? And it's about why we're really here on this earth and how our loved ones in spirit communicate not just with me, but with you as well. Many other things in there too. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a presenter, all kinds of stuff. So, and I absolutely love what I do. And I'm really looking forward to the expo.
Well, I think your enthusiasm really comes through, and everyone that attends your event, your medium event, really loves it. I get lots of great comments. So, can you tell me a little bit more about how you got started being a, let's call it a psychic medium? Like, how did you know that you were psychic way back when?
Okay, well, there's a little bit of a difference between psychic and medium. And psychic, that's more about knowing the future and things like that. A medium is someone who directly connects with beings on the other side. And for me, it was a very amazing moment. And for some people, it can take a tragic moment, like an accident or a near-death experience. But thankfully for me, that was not the case. It was an interesting series of events that led up to the very moment where I knew I was a medium. And throughout my life, I had known that I was very different than other people, and I seemed to know information that other people didn't know, and I felt loved ones in spirit. I heard them. I've even seen loved ones in spirit manifest fully as ghosts, but that's more rare than you think. And it was, I had gone to another medium, and my best friend had come through in this gallery reading, and one of the things that she had mentioned was that I'm supposed to heal the people, the planet, and the environment. And I thought, that's a pretty tall order, considering I'm a marketing manager, I'm not in the Peace Corps. Like, what was that? So fast forward, this medium, I asked him, I said, what did she mean by that? And he said to me, don't you know that you're a light worker? And I said, wow. I said, that's really great. I said, but what is that? And for whatever reason, when he said to me that you are someone who works within the light of God, I just absolutely knew with all of my being that I was a medium. And there's a lot of other things that happened that led up to this. But at that very moment, I saw every event in my entire life light up like a star in the sky, leading to that very moment where I knew it was a calling. It wasn't just, hey, I'm a medium. This was a calling. And I knew that this is what I'd be doing with the rest of my life. It was absolutely amazing. And once that happened, my life changed extraordinarily. It was amazing. I went and I trained with some of the top mediums in the world, like James Von Prague and Tony Stockwell, John Holland, and more. And it was, to me, it was like a remembrance when I went to the classes. And once I got started in there and I realized that I could see loved ones in spirit and had been all along in my mind's eye, I was like, oh my gosh, I was doing things they weren't even teaching. And I didn't even know where it was coming from. I'm a very old soul, apparently. But ever since that moment, I have not looked back. And I've written my book to share all of the information that I have gotten from readings, as well as meditations and direct messages from angels. And one of my jobs is to help everyone to understand why we're really here, how we could have more satisfying relationships with one another, and to lose that fear of passing and to know that we continue on. We have an existence beyond this, and why we're really in existence. It's really awesome. I love what I do. And I know that my guys and gals in spirit woke me up at the right moment for me. They really did.
Well said. Your enthusiasm comes through, and it's clear that you love what you do. And like I said, we get great comments about you all the time. So thank you. Thanks. I always love to hear the stories about how people learned, how they get their information, that sort of thing. Can you tell us a little bit about the medium gallery that you're doing at the Expo?
Absolutely. And again, one of my favorite things is sharing my gifts with others to help them with their lives. And in the expo, one of the things that I love to do is provide a gallery, and it's going to be taking place on Saturday, April 27th at 12:30. And it is basically a large group reading where I'm going to start out talking about how spirit communication works so that people can understand how it's working. And I can also explain that to you too. It's very awesome.
Yeah.
And then I bring through loved ones in spirit. Now, they are not chosen by me. Okay, so whoever's coming through, for whoever's in the audience, we match them up with the detailed information that comes through about them. It's very unique information that helps with the matching. And then once we have a match, then I bring forth the messages. And usually what happens is they're very clever. Our loved ones in spirit and the angels are very clever. Whenever they are bringing through information directly to someone else, but we are in a big group situation, those messages have messages within the messages for other people in the room. It is absolutely amazing. And I was just mentioning too, before we got on, that it is my father's birthday that day, April 27th. And my father is in heaven, and he was an electrician. And my dad absolutely loves to be a part of the gallery readings and things like that. So I'm hoping that he is going to have an extra special gallery for us. One of the last ones I did, I think it was last April, not this past September, but in April, I was bringing through a gentleman in the gallery at the Expo, and I was using my own sound system. There was another sound system in the room, but it was shut off. And as I was saying that this gentleman, he likes to play with electronics, the other sound system turned on and you could hear a gentleman speaking. You couldn't make out the words. And the monitor in the room, he gets up, he goes to check the machinery, and he's looking at me going, it's off. And everybody in the room was just, oh my gosh. So it was very funny. And it did stop, but then it started again, all at the same time that this gentleman was coming through. Once we were done with the messages with him, it didn't happen again. So, you know, loved ones in spirit, they really love to let you know that they are around. And I love when they bring things like that to the big gallery readings, because to me, everyone needs to experience that amazing, just the phenomenon. It's amazing what they can do. Yeah, it was awesome.
I used to go to gallery readings all the time, and what I noticed is that there would always be a theme. Everyone has their individual questions, and the messages come through, but there's always a major theme in the room at that time. So it's like perfectly oriented to those that are in the room. And you've noticed that too. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Doing evenings with spirit and doing gallery readings, there's always something. And some of my favorite ones, I was doing an evening with spirit one time, and there was one half of the room where people had passed from lymphoma, very specific. The other half of the room, the people that were there, they had mysteries surrounding their loved ones' passings, and they were looking for answers. And it was really divided right down the middle of the room. It was amazing. And I've had other ones where it was a lot of, one was an intelligence, meaning working for the FBI and NASA, a lot of people that were coming through that night that worked for them. Other nights it was police officers, or, you know, I'll have a lot of dads coming through or a lot of moms coming through. And I find, again, where everybody in the room is touched by the experience and has a takeaway. And I find it amazing how they orchestrate all of that for everyone. And whether people know they are going to the gallery or not, your loved ones in spirit, the loved ones in spirit, they will get you in there because they want to have you have this experience.
It's exciting, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
One of the things I always tell people, they should go and get messages from their loved ones, because it gives them completion. And to hear the message that, you know, you are loved, you did enough, you know, don't feel guilty, don't feel bad about what happened. It gives you great comfort for the rest of your life. It takes a great weight off your shoulders.
Well, and a lot of people, some people think, oh, we're going to get a reading, it's going to be all, you know, fun and whatever. But really, when you sit down for a reading, this is a soul-to-soul communication. And they really do get to the heart of the matter. And I can't tell you the number of people that have written me emails, who have contacted me, who have said, oh my God, my life has been changed forever in a positive way as a result of the reading. And by the way, it is not just people that come through. And it's not just blood relatives. It could be in-laws, ex-in-laws, friends, coworkers, neighbors, and pets. I communicate with both live and deceased animals.
Wow.
And people, yeah, oh, I love it. And I've had lots of different animals come through. Lizards, fish, horses,
Wow.
birds,
Fish?
cats, dogs, you name it. Yes, fish.
What?
That one was funny. That one was funny.
Tell
I
me
always
about
used to
that.
say that fish would never come through because what are they going to say? Well, apparently they do have something to say. And I do believe it was a guide showing me the fish. It was for a little girl that was with her parents and her brother for one of my gallery readings. And they came up to me afterwards, and I was seeing the fish. It was a goldfish. I saw everything in the bowl and the stones and the colors, and I described everything to her. And it was interesting because the message was that when she put her face up to the glass of the fish, it scared him.
Oh.
Yeah, I found out later from the dad, and that wasn't to make her feel bad, but I found out later from the dad that fish only lived 1 week.
He died of a
He
heart
told me on the
attack.
side, but I've had hamsters come through, and you know, usually like with that one too, it was a little boy who asked me about his hamster. He was so concerned about his hamster, and I described the one that I was seeing, and it was his hamster, and he just wanted to make sure it went to heaven. And I can tell you that all of the animals go to heaven, as do all of the people.
That's
They
so
do.
beautiful. It's a beautiful message.
Yeah, and they also, by the way, the animals and the people communicate the same way. They use all of my senses to communicate, and it's not as straightforward as people think. It's really bits and pieces of information that need to be put together like an abstract puzzle. And what they're doing is they're sending images of what they look like close to the time of their passing. Although, if they were balding and didn't like that in life, they will show me themselves with hair. Oh, they will. And how they come through says a lot about who they are. There's so many messages within the messages, and they'll show things they did in their lifetime, whether it was jobs they worked, houses they lived in, objects they owned. And they'll give all kinds of info, even showing things that you may have been doing recently just to let you know they're around.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Oh, and they love dropping in special information about things that'll happen in the future that you have no idea about yet. And I have found with me that it's between now and 2 years from now that these things usually come out. And it's just amazing. It's amazing to me. They'll use words and phrases. They don't always give names, but sometimes they do. And sometimes it is just jaw-dropping, the information they bring. It's amazing. And it does depend on the loved one in spirit. It really does. When we go to heaven, it's not like we automatically know how to communicate with mediums here on earth. They have to learn, which is really cool. And a lot of times they have guides that help them as well. My dad loves to help people. He does. But they'll also give me physical indicators about how they had passed. So if someone had passed from, say, a heart attack, I'll get pressure here in the region of my heart.
Right.
Nothing like what they felt. It's just an indicator. And they give me a great feel for their personalities. And by the way that they communicate with me, it is obviously very sophisticated and complex, but the way that they get messages and signs to you and everyone else, they will use all of your senses as well. So you'll see visual things, visual signs that will remind you of a loved one in spirit. My dad loves to show me something from Ocean City, Maryland, no matter where I go, because it was his favorite place. You know, but even smelling a scent. Have you ever had that, Sue, where you smelled a scent?
All the time. Yeah, all the
Your
time.
loved one.
Yeah.
You can just tell them hello in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just think it because they hear you.
Yeah.
And they use music. They use all kinds of stuff. And I love teaching people about how to connect directly with their loved ones in spirit. I teach classes for that because I want everyone to experience this magic and to receive that wonderful navigation and to maintain that connection. It's awesome. I absolutely love that.
I heard from so many people that they have a great relationship with their past loved one. You know, after that they pass, they actually sometimes have a better relationship than they do in the physical. And I heard that from so many people.
Yes. And I can attest to that directly myself because my father and I, we didn't always have the best relationship. We did when I was younger. Then when I became a teenager, I don't think he knew how to handle that.
Yeah.
You know, so we butted heads a lot. And it was later in life while he was still here that we started to heal our relationship. And my dad left this earth very suddenly of a massive heart attack. And it's very interesting because as I have continued to communicate with him over the past 15 years, that's how long he's been on the other side, I have a much better relationship with my dad than I ever had in my entire lifetime. It's amazing. And we work together. We definitely work together. I mentioned he helps loved ones that are coming through. He helps them to communicate. So I have my office up there in heaven that's filled with my loved ones on the other side. And they help out too. And I love, like you said, helping people to improve the relationship that they had, to find better understanding. And everybody has this gift to communicate to some degree. The more open you are, obviously, the smoother it'll flow. And it's also an absence of fear, meaning love is the opposite of fear. And this all works through love. And the more open you are, that means your channel to communicate is wide open.
Right.
Everybody can do this to some degree. It doesn't mean everybody will be a professional medium, but it does mean that they will be able to communicate with their loved ones, and not only their own, but also other people's as well.
That's amazing. And it's such a great service that you're offering. Tell me a little bit about your book, Karen. Do you have the cover of your book handy, or your book handy?
Oh, that's one thing I forgot this morning. I do apologize. Normally I'm prepared. But my book is called How Have You Loved? And the title, that actually came to me 2 weeks before I knew I'd be writing a book. And it is the question that we are asked in heaven when we have the review of our life. And the review is not a, you did what? It's not like that. It is more of an objective review of lessons that we learned while we were here, things we can still work on. And that question, how have you loved, is not just how you've loved other people. But the one thing that we sometimes forget is, how did you love yourself?
That's a really good point. That's something I'm always wrestling with. Everyone's always like, well, love yourself. Well, what does that mean? Eating extra chocolate? Like, what does loving yourself
mean? No. Well, and one of the things that I describe in my book, and I do talk about that, it's, you know how you fall in love with other people and you accept them, flaws and all, no matter what it is, you just accept them for who they are. That's the kind of love you need to have for yourself, is accepting yourself for everything, no matter what it is. Every single one of us is perfect and imperfect. And that's the beauty of who we are, and learning to accept yourself as you are, and to remember the good things about yourself, and not to be so hard on yourself, to be your own best friend. If you wouldn't say something nasty to your own best friend, those thoughts that you have about yourself that might be negative, you want to work on replacing those with something positive. And it is something that I teach about, and also where those negative thoughts come from. I teach about that too in the book. It's about the human ego, and we can go on that topic for about 4 hours. But
right.
the reason that I wrote the book, though, is that I had all of this information, tons of information that I could sit here, like I said, and talk to you for hours or even days about. And I wanted people to have that information to help make their lives the best that they can be while on this earth, and to better understand why we're here and how we're still connected to our loved ones in spirit. What happens in heaven? What goes on up there? I write about all of that stuff in my book. And it really is to give people a better understanding so that they can be more at peace with themselves, to love who they are, and also to love others.
I think that's the key phrase. Getting a mediumship reading, a reading from a loved one, often makes someone feel more at peace. And they feel relief. Yes. They feel like there's closure. Sometimes their questions are answered, and really, we look back in our life, and the big question is, have I done enough, or did I make a difference? Did I make a difference? And we do in ways that we don't even know.
Exactly, and that's when people talk about our legacies. Our legacies are the people that we help in big and small ways every day. It's not the cars that we drive or the houses we live in or the jobs that we work. It's really how we have extended that love not only to others, but also to ourselves. And people in my field with spirit medium and psychics and healers, we are really good about loving other people. We are. All types of people, all kinds, animals too. And the hard part that we have is loving ourselves. And I myself have struggled with that, but I've gotten to a much better place by putting into practice the things that I teach.
That's a good point. Well, that's one of my problems. It's like I'm going to do this, this, and this for myself, and then something comes up, a crisis comes up, and of course I jump right on it, and then my exercise time or my walk time or whatever is gone, and it's like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, and then something else happens then, you know. So
right, I hear you, but try not to be too hard on yourself about that either, because sometimes, you know, there are things in our lives that, well, all of our life is orchestrated, and it's all based on our actions. And there are times when it's okay that, you know, something else needs to be taken care of. But one of the things you can do for yourself that has worked for me, do what you need to for you first thing in the morning.
That makes sense.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just a matter of making up your mind about what you want to do for yourself. But don't be hard on yourself, because you're human. Everybody's human. And I put out a lot of fires too. I do. I definitely have things that come up all the time. But, you know, as long as I'm taking small steps each day towards my goals, it helps. I'm making progress. So baby steps.
And I know what impresses me about you, Karen, is that you really express yourself. So you're a clear communicator, but you have beautiful artwork that you've done, and of course, a beautiful book.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about how you're inspired to create those beautiful paintings. I know I have the butterfly one, and I put that
in. Oh, yes.
I gave that to my mom. She was in a nursing home living for quite a while, and I thought, she needs something bright to cheer her up, because dang, is that a depressing place to live. But
I hear you.
Yeah. But
that's awesome. Well, and it's funny with the spirit animal art. When I first started painting my animal series that I'm going to have on display at the Expo, they were for me. I wasn't painting them for any other purpose but for me. And to me, it's a form of meditation. So when I need to take a break from the world a little bit, I will paint. And I get very focused into what I'm doing. And I also channel the animals when I am doing the painting. So that may sound a little interesting, but I can feel the fur when I'm painting them. I can feel their feathers when I'm painting the owls and things like that. And it was interesting, when I was painting the zebra, which is the last one in that particular series, I got a message from my dad saying it's time to put them out now. And I sat there and I'm in the middle of painting and I said, what? I said, you want me to put the artwork out to the public? And the answer was yes. And remember what I had said about my best friend Michelle coming through, that I'm supposed to help the people, the planet, and the environment? Well, all of this got tied in, because when I went to go to the printer to talk about getting the painting scanned and to get the reproductions made, on my way home, I saw my dad in my mind's eye. And I'm like, what? He seemed very excited about something. And there was a car in front of me that had one of those Philadelphia Zoo license plates that has the tiger and the baby tiger on it. Well, for whatever reason, I've never paid attention to the words on top, and they were magnified in my vision, and it was Save Wildlife. And I said, oh my God, I am supposed to help save the environment and the animals through my artwork. So what I do is, whenever the artwork is sold, I always donate to either wildlife conservation, or even Forgotten Cats. That's a local cat shelter. They help with the cats and things like that. And, you know, I am really big into helping animals. And one of the things too that I've done for people, when you're looking at the artwork, I always tell people, flip over the artwork, because I have the spiritual meaning of the animal connected to the artwork. There's always a reason why you're drawn to a particular animal. And that can change throughout time. And, you know, inevitably when people flip these over, the ones they're drawn to, they're like, oh my God, that is exactly what's going on in my life right now.
Great. It is great.
You know? And the butterfly, by the way, that's all about transformation. And with your mom, you know, she was going through a transformation, and also the joy. You know, there's a lot of joy that you were trying to bring to your mom at that time with the butterfly. And I think that's beautiful.
Well, thank you. It was a very hard situation. My mom was a very, very active person. Like even when she was in her 70s and early 80s, she was running around, very social. She volunteered a lot of places. And when she fell and then had to
Yeah.
live in the home, it had to be very hard for her because she could not, function on her own. So I can't
Oh,
imagine
yeah.
how she did it. So I thought the butterfly would
Well,
share.
I know that you were very supportive of her. And also, too, when we are going through difficult times in our lives, our loved ones in spirit are there. And they're there anyway, but especially when we're going through tough times to bring us peace, to bring us support. And I know that your mom had people around her in spirit helping her. And a
Right.
lot of times what they'll do is send us love. They'll send us a tremendous amount of love and also peace. Yep. And help us to, I don't want to use the words deal with the situation, but to better accept it
Right.
and
Right.
to help us to heal.
And I think
Mhm.
from the person that had to witness this, I was frustrated and angry because I'm the kind of person that thinks you can change any situation. So I was like,
Mm.
I could have helped her, rescued her, saved her, which is not true.
Mm.
But that was
Well, and
frustrating
that's
to
a
me.
tough one. And
Yeah.
that too, what I talked about our life lessons and things like that. Before we come down here on earth, we agree to learn certain lessons. It's not written with every single instance because it's more like an outline to learn certain lessons. And this one for you, by the way, was more about learning that you don't have control,
Right.
how to work with that with yourself and to accept that within yourself that, okay, this is a situation that I have no control over. What can I do? I already know what I can't do. What can I do? And knowing you, I know that you learned the lesson well.
Well, I don't love it. Let me tell you, I like to
I
just get
know.
right in there and fix people.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But
But, learning when to back off from that, learning what your limitations are, that's a very important lesson that everybody has at some point in their life.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So
What
you learned what you could do, though.
Yeah. And you know what I do is a lot of times I go walking and I do talk to the angels and the guides and all that. So people in the neighborhood probably think I'm crazy. I also have a tree named Jeff in
Yes.
the neighborhood. So a lot of times the people will walk by me and they'll say, "Are you the tree person?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But I'll go and talk to Jeff for a while and have him take away all my anxiety or whatever. So it does help.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and I will tell you too, if anyone does struggle with anxiety, there is a wonderful angel to help out with that. Archangel Azrael. So it's Azrael. And Archangel Azrael helps with transitions, not just transitioning from this world to the next, but also with our moods and anxiety and things like that. You can always just easily call on Archangel Azrael to help get you to a place of calm,
Right.
truly.
Right. Right.
And people ask, oh, well, how do you call on them? See how I'm talking to you right
Yeah.
now? This is exactly how you can talk
Yeah.
to them. Like your best friend. Hey, how you doing? And Archangel Azrael, can you please help transition my mood from the negative to a more, a state of calm? And I found within 20 minutes, that calm comes over you. And the first time you do this, it feels very unusual.
Well, I remember,
And
hearing, "Oh, yes, you can talk to God and the angels," and I'm like, "Well, like me,
yeah,
like a little old me," and I do it all the time.
absolutely.
And it's sometimes easier to talk to an angel than to God directly. You don't want to bother him. It's like too much time
I
out of
hear
it.
you.
But yeah, I talk to them all the time. Ask for what you want. Tell them to help
And they
you.
love that.
Just talk aloud. Talk in my
Yeah,
head.
and you don't even have to say it out loud, though. You can say it in your head because they hear you.
Yeah.
It's the same with your loved ones in spirit. And with the archangels, their job is to help humankind. That's their job. So they want us to ask for
Right.
help.
Right.
Yes, they and the reason that they want us to ask for help is because they want us to acknowledge them. And you can go on and not ask, but it's not like they're ignoring you or anything like that. But if you ask for help, you start to build a relationship with them. And that's what that's really for. And when you're talking to the archangels, you're basically talking to God anyway. Nothing
Right.
goes by God. Nothing. So, it's not an insult that you're not talking to God. You are. You're talking to God anyway, but you also have, you have someone, a being that will also help carry your prayers to God. So you have someone, an advocate, speaking on your behalf.
Good word. I said, I talk to the angels all the time about big,
and they love it, and they love you.
Yeah. And so if you feel a little bit uncomfortable about talking to God directly, and I'm not talking about from the religious standpoint, but if you need help with something, if you need a favor, if you need, whatever it is, just let it rip, say it. And the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit, and it becomes easy.
Well, and the other part of it too is also the other half of that, and I know that you do this, is to also thank them.
Yes.
Thank them. I always love putting out that gratitude. Whenever I get done a reading, one of the first things that I do is I thank the loved ones in spirit that came through, as well as my entire heavenly support team for helping with the process.
Right.
And I know that you recognize when they step in with divine intervention and when they help you. And I know that you put that out there, that gratitude. The more that we are grateful for the things that we are given, and by the way, that even includes the tough times. I know that sounds strange, but there's always a positive reason for negative circumstances, and it has to do with our life lessons.
Right.
And if you can look for the positive reasons, you might not see it right away when you're in it, but if you keep looking for the positive reasons, you will find them. You will. And that goes for even things that are as tough as murder or abuse and things like that. I've been through a lot of tragedies in my own life, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. I wouldn't want it to happen again. But I can tell you that I am actually grateful that these things happened in my lifetime, because I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't be able to help people the way that I do if I didn't go through that. So I see the purpose now, and it's a positive purpose.
Well said, because so many of us think a negative thing is only negative, but there's always a lesson there. There's always a takeaway.
And it's not just for you.
Yeah.
It's for many, many people.
It might be letting go of control, or it might be like having a realization. And what happens is that the universe will up the amps with these lessons until you get the lesson.
Oh, yes. And that's why everything that we agree to with regard to our life lessons in heaven, that it's written in outline form, because we have free will. So as we're going through life, we make these decisions, and if we didn't quite finish up a lesson, it's going to come back around in a different form. Right. So that's why everything is flexing. And it would honestly amaze everybody if they could see the network of how all of this is worked out. It's absolutely incredible. And it's all done in real time. And it's all based on our decisions. It's amazing.
Magnificent. And I would think it would be like this incredible geometric pattern, like of light.
That's how I see it, where everything is crisscrossing, and it's amazing, that network. Yeah, there are times of absolute clarity when you can see and recognize how all of these events led up to that moment. Like I said, with my reawakening to my gifts of mediumship, the full reawakening, oh my goodness, that was a moment of absolute clarity. I saw and recognized how everything that had ever happened in my life led to that very moment. It was such a clarity. It was unbelievable. And I've had that more than once in my lifetime, where I absolutely understood with clarity that it just changes your life. It really does. Now, for those who haven't had that yet, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But you need to start practicing looking at the reasons behind the negative situations and even the positive ones. And then you can start putting all of that together, and you can see where you are in the perfect place for you right now. And so is everybody else.
Right. And it's stepping back from the issue sometimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is challenging. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a very human person where, and so is the Dalai Lama, by the way, where, you may experience anger, disappointment, sadness, things like that. Believe me, I still feel all of those emotions. I wouldn't be human if I didn't, but not allowing them to take over. That is the other thing. It's acknowledging that, yep, I'm unhappy, I'm upset. However, reminding myself that there's a positive reason for why it's happening, and just waiting to see, okay, let's see what's going to happen with this and where this is going, and look for that positive. And I also like to tell people too that you will get direction, even if you sometimes have to pull back and take your hands off the wheel because the situation is very tough. You're giving it up to God, and that's a spiritual thing, not a religious thing. Giving it up to God, giving up to the universe, and allowing them to take over a little bit, because sometimes we get in our own way. We definitely do. They have that 10,000-foot view, Right. But when you let go a little bit of the need to control situations, it opens up the gateway for them to come in and help you.
Right.
So I'm not saying sit back and do nothing, but sometimes you have to pull back a little bit if you just keep, running into a wall. And they will give you urges. They will give you a really strong desire to take action, or you'll get messages, repeated messages, where they're giving you navigation. And again, that's why that's really important to learn about how they communicate. And, I have classes, beginner classes, all the way up through advanced. My next one is May 18th and 19th. And it's to help people to learn how to navigate the world this way.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And you'll have information about that at the Expo too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait to see you and everybody else.
Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed our talk.
Oh, me too. And by the way, I want to encourage everybody to go to the Expo, because they have crystal vendors, they have readers, they have people that have organic tea and food, and it is a wonderful experience to be in that Expo Center with all of these wonderful people on a spiritual journey. There's free lectures. We had already talked about my gallery. There's also other lectures that are, you have some superstars that are coming in.
Yeah.
Right, Sue?
Yes, I do. Both Brad Johnson and John D'Souza will be coming in to do 2 presentations each. And we do charge for them because we have to pay their travel expenses, which is modest. Yeah.
Well, and there's so many wonderful experiences that you can have for the whole weekend. And I do want to thank you, Sue. This show wouldn't even exist without you. And I want to thank you for all the hard work that you put into it, and for bringing everybody together for this wonderful weekend. And it's twice a year, which I super love.
Yeah. Well, I was guided and inspired to start the Expo. It wasn't like I sat there and thought about doing it. It was kind of forced on me. And the voices in my head strongly encouraged me to do it, which I'm glad I did now. But I actually closed my full-time business. I had a yoga studio wellness center that I ran to do the Expo. I do love it. And
awesome.
meeting
you do a great job.
Well, thank you. It's a one-person show, which sometimes I do get a little testy, and I'm trying to juggle a lot of moving parts at the same time.
Oh yeah. Well, yes, you have more than 100 vendors. Yeah. You have all of the wonderful people that are coming to see the show. Yeah. You have to deal with a lot of the background stuff. Yeah. But I'll tell you, you handle it with a lot of style and class, and you make sure. You do. And one of the things that you do is you try to ensure that everybody gets as much as possible out of the show.
Right. And part of it is
without you.
Yeah. It's making connections, and part of it is just meeting other vendors or people that come. It's not just business and selling a bunch of widgets. It's really making human connections.
Oh, absolutely.
People helping each other in whatever way that might be.
And there's definitely going to be that happening in many different ways, whether it's healings, it's readings. Like, I know I'll be doing readings. There'll be other mediums and psychics that are doing readings. There'll be all kinds of experiences for people to have, and even learning in those lectures as well, and participating, making new friends. It's really an awesome time.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time so much, Karen, and I'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks.
I'm excited. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you, Sue. Namaste.
Namaste. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye now.